Have you ever wondered why people could completely change their diet, especially when they go away from the mainstream towards things that seem restrictive? And I say seem restrictive because sometimes we look at someone deciding that they're not going to do something as meaning that they're restricting themselves when in fact they might be setting themselves free. For example, if I decide that I'm no longer going to sleep in every day, then that means I'm getting up and I'm allowing myself to enjoy my life. So sometimes things that look like I'm taking something away from me could actually be me giving myself something. And that's what I think is happening when people decide to change their diet to what looks restrictive. Example, keto. Example, carnivore. And we have a lot of doctors right now talking about, and dietitians and nutritionists talking about the fact that there's different diets that could give benefit to our health. But whenever professionals talk about these things, there's this question in the back of our mind. Is it true what they're telling us, or do they have an ulterior motive? Do they have a financial benefit telling me eat this diet versus that diet versus another, right? Especially when it comes to nutritionists and dietitians, because they're going to meet with you, right, on a very regular basis to go over what you're eating and to make sure that everything is going well. So we question. I thought to myself, what would be the best way that I could help wellness warriors to truly see the benefit of eating healthy keto, healthy carnivore? And it occurred to me that it's not because I say so that you should do this. I think hearing from people just like you would be the best reason to do this. So I went to my comments to see has anyone ever just spontaneously said what happened without me? So not that I asked. I'm not looking for videos where I asked you to tell me about it. I was looking for occasions where a wellness warrior just said, "Hey, this is what happened." And I found some very interesting things that I want to share with you today. All right. Let's start with the first one here. And this is really about people sharing their important experiences with you, right? Because if I were to tell you the same thing, you're not going to care. But here it is that this person is talking about female issues, first of all. So the fact that her fibroids healed, but not just that in healing the fibroids, also became calmer and able to manage life's crises and issues. And how many of us in our history, when we were menstruating, so that, the month before, or sorry, the day before, get all like emotional and can't think straight. And we think it's just because we're female that this is happening to us. But you know what? I've recently learned that because our hormones are really important to how stable we are, so how we're able to be calm and manage life's problems, that that menstrual scenario that we go through, well, if my hormones are all impacting each other, which is exactly what happens, male or female, by the way, if one hormone is out of its alignment, all your hormones will be out of alignment. They all impact each other. We are a system. So if my hormones, like insulin, is being thrown all over the place because I'm eating all the wrong things. And so basically what's happening is insulin is rising, and it's rising over the course of years. This is not minutes, this is years, that eventually, of course, my other hormones get out of balance because all of my hormones interact with each other. Aside from this person saying that these things changed, I do know that I was watching. I used to watch Keto Savage. I don't know if you guys know that channel, but he's a bodybuilder, and his wife was having so many problems regulating herself. And then, well, his now wife, at the time was girlfriend, when they got together and Crystal started to do keto, and eventually I believe they went carnivore, and the more appropriate the diet became for her, so the more on target she was, the more her menstrual cycle got normalized and everything just got better. We, like this woman almost had happened, we, over the years, many women have had hysterectomies that were not necessary because their food was wrong and they weren't told that their food was wrong. And it's not supposed to be like this. One thing I will say is that when you go back in history, before we figured out how to do a hysterectomy, what did women do? And I think that this thing we're doing right now, where we're ignoring the food and just looking at what medical interventions we can do, it really is causing quite a bit of problems in our lives. Now, the other thing that came up by the way, I'm going in the order of the least amount of discussed to the most amount discussed. Just I thought it would be interesting to see how much of my comment section are on these topics. Women's issues are the least spoken about from what I could see, or one of the least. Right. So when you see one comment, it's reflecting that's how many comments about I get, and then 2 and 3, and I go up in number. So now this is still one comment, and it's oxalates. Again, not something that we talk about a lot as to a good reason why you should change your diet, but it's there. People change their diet. Well, first of all, because the food they're eating is hurting them. Now, oxalate is a major reason that our food is hurting us. We just don't know about it. Some people do, and that's why they take this into consideration. But the flip side of the coin is that when you take certain foods out of your diet, you're removing these toxins. So there's oxalates, there's solanine, there's lectins, there's gluten, there's all these things, there's anti-nutrients, there's all these things in plants that are harming us. And first of all, if we don't understand that these things are harming us, we end up just eating these foods, damaging our body. But flip side of the coin is, what happens when you take so much food out that your body is able to start releasing these oxalates, these lectins, these poisons that it's been holding on to for years? Well, sometimes what happens to people is that when so we lose fat, it gets released back into our body, these toxins that were being held captive in the fat, and then our body has to deal with it again. And sometimes that feels bad. Sometimes it even is dangerous. And so 2 problems that I see here is it could be years later. Like this person's talking about, it took 2 years before the oxalate came that was being released back into the body started to show problems. So first of all, people will assume that you stopped doing the diet, right? Because the diet worked and now it's not working for you. So clearly you must be doing something wrong. Now, for me, that happened, and I don't know if it was oxalates at the time. Solanine better explain what was happening to me, because taking all nightshades out of my diet solved the problem. But I will say that over the course of the history of being keto and more recently carnivore, but keto for 5.5 years, carnivore for a few months, I can tell you that there were moments where my skin was off. There were moments where, like I was tired again, and I didn't reintroduce tomato or potato or any of the nightshade plants. And I was confused, but luckily for me, just pushing forward and just not changing anything, I normalized again. Today, I'm wondering, was that possibly an oxalate issue showing itself? And then my body took care of it and I'm back on baseline. So recently, to kind of test this theory out a little bit, after doing that interview with Sally, I reintroduced a little bit of a sauce that I used to make, keto friendly, just to see, would I have a reaction? And believe it or not, I had a reaction. Now, at first it just seemed like a stomach disturbance, which when you're carnivore, putting anything back in your diet, you are going to expect a stomach disturbance, which did happen. but I got a rash and I wasn't expecting the rash. So I think that these things that we're being told, well, so Sally mentioned to me that, yeah, if you could push the dumping to happen by reintroducing something, and then it would happen. And I feel like maybe that's what these rashes have been, and I just didn't understand that that's what they were. So of course, uncomfortable, but makes sense to me now, and it's interesting. And I guess I'll wait and see how long the rash stays with me. But I'm not afraid of them anymore. Whereas before, I was nervous. I was like, why are these things happening? And knowing that I could aggravate it to happen now makes me much more comfortable in realizing that, okay, so my body's doing things and it wants to do things, it wants to clean up, but there's also things in me that need to be cleaned up, because theoretically, a bathrooming would have been the logical answer to eating something that doesn't agree with you. So the rash I find interesting. I don't want us to be mad at ourselves when we do something, as long as we learn from what we're doing. And so, another thing I want to point out when it comes to taking foods out of your life, I was lucky in the sense that I went from standard diet to keto, but then I went from keto to very, 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 very low carb keto before I went to carnivore. And I think that that was part of the reason that I didn't have a huge dumping story up to this point, because I still had some oxalates coming in, right? And just so happened that the thing that I chose to keep in my diet, according to Sally, is one of the things that in North America is going to have the most oxalate, or a good amount of oxalate in it. Not the most, but a good amount, because I kept avocado. And I wasn't aware that the oxalates and other toxins get removed from uh, fruits that the plant might want us to eat. It gets removed when it's ripened on the plant, right? The plant removes the toxin. Well, we don't do that in North America. Well, I know in North America, we get our avocados, they are not ripe, which means that we pick them from the tree before they were ripe. And according to Sally, that means that that avocado has 4 to 5 times and a ridiculous amount more oxalate in it, because the plant wasn't able to remove it before it sent it off into the world for the animal to eat it and spread the seed along. That means that I kept something in my diet that was higher in oxalate than it should have been. If it were, anyways, it was damaging to me, and so I've hence removed avocado from my diet. And I had a bunch in the fridge, by the way. Monsfer, can I tell you how annoyed I was that I had just bought some before doing this interview, and then had to throw them away? That was frustrating, but it was worth it, because my health means more to me than whatever money that I might save or get the benefit of by eating avocado. So my caution to you is that if you're going to take oxalates out of your diet, do it slowly, because you don't want to aggravate dumping. But the flip side of the coin is, when you whatever veg you allow to stay in your life, make sure that you choose carefully and make sure that they're low oxalate foods. For example, another one that should leave your life is spinach. And the other one that she talks a lot about for us keto people, is almonds and almond flours. And a lot of the the nut flours that we use have oxalate. So just be very careful with those things, because we don't want to harm our health. Weight loss. That was the next most talked about thing, right? So many people have an easier time losing weight. And in carnivore, it's even easier, right? Because you're not eating something so that all that sugar is not coming in, pushing insulin and causing weight gain, because that's what's going to happen if you have a lot of sugar coming in. Your insulin resistance gets better. And when you do keto and carnivore, and it's easier. So can you imagine this woman at the age of 63 is able to, in 10 months, lose 40 pounds. That's a great result. And most of us would be very happy with that result. Now, I guess I was just lucky, Because in 5 months, at the age of 46, so maybe I was just less metabolically damaged than my 63-year-old friend here. But at 46, in 5 months, I lost 80 pounds. It's possible to lose weight. It's possible to lose weight while still eating. It's possible to lose weight while still eating and eating enough that you're not hungry. All of these starvation diets that they put us on over the years, where we're focusing on lowering the calorie count and making sure that we keep fat from our body because eating fat is going to make us fat, and all the lies that we've been told, wellness warrior. And yet here it is that she did it in 10 months, I did it in 5 months, and did it without suffering. And you can do the same without suffering, lose weight if you eat a healthy keto or carnivore lifestyle. The fourth thing I want to talk about are the digestive and gut issues, from bloating and gas all the way to irritable bowel disease, all the way to my friend Lee that I interviewed. I want to call him a friend. I mean, he's a lovely person. Losing his colon because he was eating the wrong foods, wellness warrior. We are fed this lie that we need fiber to go to the bathroom. We do not need fiber to go to the bathroom. Fiber causes, so not even just fiber, vegetation in general causes digestive issues because we do not have multiple stomachs and therefore cannot process plants the way that ruminants can. We just can't, wellness warrior. We are not set up for that. And so this craziness that we're told that our digestive issues are our problem, right? They're either genetically happening, so our genetics is making this our problem, or we're just sensitive, right? We have allergies to these foods and we're sensitive. And what we need to do is just continue to eat them because that's food, right? And just hope to get as much nutrients as we possibly can pulled out of this food that we're eating. And by the way, don't eat meat and fish and poultry and eggs, because that's not food. Even for the people who are sensitive, even for the people who are reacting, heaven forbid you eat the real food. Eat the garbage. On the Sawyer, it's not true. We are being led down this path of digestive distress because it benefits somebody else, not because it benefits us. Dr. Lehman even points out that all of those healthy foods that they keep telling us that we need, those healthy foods that are going to help us go to the bathroom, all those healthy foods that they're telling us are better than meat, fish, than animal protein sources, than all the... Dr. Lehman points out that we don't even get the benefit of getting all the amino acids out of those foods. As he said, those proteins, those amino acids are there for the purposes of the plant, not for our purposes. So it's like maybe 40% bioavailable to us if we're lucky. And yet we are turning our worlds upside down and hurting our body, eating these things to the point where poor Lee actually had his colon removed and now will never be able to use the bathroom in a normal way ever again. That doesn't make sense, wellness warrior. The fifth reason that people give me is that they had heart issues and they wanted to heal their body, heal their heart, right? And carnivore was one of the ways that they realized that they could do that the quickest. Some of them did it with keto, but they focus on, or they shared with me also that doctors do not seem to endorse carnivore or keto. And can I point out something that really frustrates me? Doctors don't endorse keto. When I was eating the standard diet up here in Canada, I did not eat vegetables. I'm not even trying to play with you here. I didn't eat vegetables. For me, French fries was the most common side dish vegetable that was ever on my plate. And honestly, going back to the oxalate problem, French fries are potatoes, which are full of oxalate. Going back to the solanine, so nightshade problem, French fries are a nightshade. I was getting punched both ways, not even realizing the damage that I was doing to my body, consistently having nightshades as my main vegetable on my plate. Wellness warrior. I wasn't doing my body any favors. But going back to what I was going to say, would you believe that doctors never, ever were fussing with me about the fact that I wasn't eating vegetables? They weren't even asking that question. Nobody was saying, Violet, are you eating vegetables? Not once did I get asked that question from my doctor. Right. But as soon as I started doing keto, and to do keto, I introduced a boatload of vegetables. There were probably like 15 vegetables that I introduced to my life because how am I going to do this? It's meat and vegetables. And I introduced about 15. I settled on, I would say, about 8 of them. And all of a sudden, I'm being told I'm not being healthy. I was eating more vegetables than I had ever eaten in my entire life. And all of a sudden, I'm being told I'm not being healthy. Do we see the crazy in that story? Doctors don't even take the time to ask you, what are you eating? But then they assume that if you're doing keto, it could not possibly be healthier than doing standard. That's absolute garbage. That's absolute garbage. Ask me a question before you decide that what I'm eating isn't healthy. Ask me a question. Because if you'd have asked me a question, you'd have found out that what I was eating on standard diet was ridiculously unhealthy. But they're going to turn around and tell you to do something like the DASH diet or the American Heart Association diet. Neither of those two diets are as healthy as the keto diet because both of those diets allow room for, first of all, processed foods. Both of those diets, although I can't say that keto doesn't allow space for processed foods because it does. But, well, as a matter of fact, so does carnivore because you can eat. Yeah. So I advocate for whole foods keto. Because if you're doing whole foods keto, then yes, you're absolutely going to have the best possible health. Whole foods carnivore, you're going to absolutely have the best possible health. But these diets, American Heart Association and DASH diet, allow you to eat garbage still. They allow you to not only eat processed foods and ultra processed foods, but they still allow you to have fun foods once in a while. So that's like just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. And I've seen so many heart healthy on foods that are absolutely against your heart health. It's unreal. Patrick recently had some heart issues, and it really put in our face how often we see on packaging heart healthy on things that we know are not heart healthy, things that we know that in our history of eating them, we're contributing to our weight, we're contributing to our poor health, we're contributing to my pain and Pat's heart issues. I'm not going to go more into detail about what happened to Pat because we have a video coming up Thursday this week that talks about it. So, and if you want to know some beforehand details, Pat is in the comments of the Wellness Squad all the time. So if you want to just jump over there and check out the Wellness Squad, you can talk to Pat if you want to know a little bit of that in advance. But that video is coming out this week. So the other thing that people talk about are the body aches, right? Lowering sugar lowers inflammation. Can you believe that? Sugar causes inflammation, and if you get it out of your life, it lowers. So that generalized body pain that a lot of people walk around with. So I had joint pains everywhere, but I have other friends who have other kinds of pains that's not specifically joints, that when they took sugar out of their life, the pain went away. Go figure. But is it just because of the sugar? And this is where Sally's book really put me in a place of starting to really look at it. Even my life experience with the solanine from those nightshades puts me in a different way of looking at this, that we're not just lowering the sugar when we take the plants out. We're lowering all of the plant toxins that have been coming in and wreaking havoc on our body. And there's a huge impact of removing these things on the level of pain that we end up living. So again, those oxalates and glutens and lectins and solanine, right? My life has so improved because I'm no longer putting that stuff. I'm not eating that stuff. And I didn't think that the little bit of veg, because what I had left, I had avocado. I honestly didn't think the avocado was having a big impact until I learned how much oxalate was in it because of the way that we pick it. Bad. But I didn't even think about the fact that the spices that I put on my food are the parts of the plant. So that like what is spicy? It's the part of the plant that's triggering my mouth to react. And if my mouth is reacting, is it especially for peppery stuff, like hot stuff, like stuff? Well, isn't that telling me that that's my body saying stop it? And we say, no, give me more. It doesn't make sense. I was watching um First We Feast, I think it's called. And they had this guy on, and he was talking about, he was ranking peppers, and he's like saying basically this is what he does, and he makes hot sauces and all this, that's his thing. And the thing that I was noticing, Wellness Warrior, in this person who looked maybe to be in their late 40s, early 50s, so not that old, was how much that their hands were shaking. And it started me thinking about, if what you do 20, and he was eating these things while he was demonstrating to us, things that were Scoville, like really high numbers, that people would be a little touch on their tongue and screaming about, and he was just eating it like, if yeah, that's tasty, that's this hot and this, and no so that tells me he's gotten used to it. How much poison has he allowed into his body, which from the shaking of his hands tells me that it's impacting his brain and his nervous system, or his neurons, right? Why am I doing that to myself? Because I don't know, first of all, because I don't understand that that's what this all means. Why don't we understand that, Wellness Warrior? Because it's hidden from us. They do not allow us to know this information, because if we knew this information, would we be eating these things? Would we be harming our, well, I would hope not. I mean, some of us know that cigarettes cause cancer and we're still smoking. Some of us know that and start smoking. But then do you know it? So again, it's question marks. Do we understand that whether you get it or not, there is damage happening internally, whether you get to the point where that's the struggle you live or some other struggle happens, you're not helping your health with these things. And I really want us to just take this stuff a bit more seriously. The seventh thing that I want to talk about is our emotional health, because I feel like people will allow themselves to eat these things or do actions that we know damages us internally because we feel so bad anyway. We're already on a negative place that we end up just saying, I don't care. And then I start doing even worse things to ourselves. And with the number of young people that I see with mental health issues, food is playing a bigger role than we understand. Dr. Georgia Aid is recently, really pushing hardcore. She came out with a book. The book's amazing. You should read it. I'm gonna link that below. I should have thought about that, but I'll link it below after this. You should absolutely be paying more attention to what you eat, because it absolutely impacts the way your brain is built. It impacts, if your brain is insulin resistant, that has a huge impact on you emotionally, on your ability to control your body, on your ability to control, like, your brain is so important, wellness warrior. Your hormone maintenance and like your hormone levels are so important, and they need to be in balance with each other for you to be emotionally regulated. We've seen people who completely solve their bipolar disorder by eating properly, solve their schizophrenia by eating properly, solve their depression, anxiety by eating properly. That my life is calmer. That if my life is calmer, that means that my relationships are better. So, what does that mean for me in the everyday wellness story? Think about this. If I'm doing well, and then I get out there in the world and I start interacting with people and it goes better, my life is going to be better. If I'm feeling better and I'm at work, I'm going to be more clear, which means I get my work done, which means I get to keep my job, first of all. But second of all, that maybe I advance at work, maybe that I just do better in life, in my financial, maybe I stop emotionally shopping and actually use my money for things that make sense for me, right? Instead of wasting money on stuff that I don't need to waste it on because I'm trying to make myself feel better by buying every gadget and tool and foolish and food and poisoning my body with the wrong foods. Having emotional stability is the most important thing that we need to have to live a healthy life, wellness warrior. And it starts with the food you put in your mouth. I'm so afraid for the young people that I see. I'm so afraid for the adults that I see that are over medicated throughout a good portion of their lives. They're over medicated because we got to be able to function, right? I'm eating all the wrong things. And then I'm medicated to manage the things that are happening because I'm eating all the wrong things. Those medications have a negative impact on my actual body, by the way, causing damage internally, by the way. So the food is causing damage and the medications I take cause damage, although they do solve like one little thing, but they cause other things. I'm in a vicious cycle because food, medication, damage, food, medication. It's just all. And by the way, I'll take a medication, and then the damage the medication causes makes me have to take another medication. And then the damage that that medication causes, it makes you have to. Who does this benefit? It's supposed to benefit me, right? Not so sure. Learning that we've been lied to. We've been lied to. That's why we think medication does only good. It does harm, right? It aims at doing one good. So we've been lied to. Our food is this way because it is profitable. We eat ultra processed food, not because it's convenient. That's what they tell us. Not because it saves us time. That's what they tell us. Not because it's healthy. That's what they tell us. We eat ultra processed food because it's profitable to the company that creates the ultra processed food. That is why when they were confronted by lots of people, but Michael Moss talks about it when and they're asked, like, why would we this keep happening? Their answer is always the same, right? Michael Moss discovered that the reason that food looks this way is because, well, it's profitable. If we change the formulation, that it wouldn't. First of all, it wouldn't taste good. Wouldn't taste good. It would taste disgusting. But second of all, it wouldn't be profitable, right? Because, well, first of all, you can't sell stuff people won't buy. But the next, if we use all of the pristine ingredients that we should be using, it won't stay on the shelf long enough for you to eat it, and then it won't taste good when you get it, and then you will never buy it again. So of course, okay. Ultra processed foods aren't healthy at all. Not just a little bit unhealthy, not the best thing to eat. They are not healthy at all. They're a bunch of chemicals, which is why, okay, it's have you ever tried to recreate an ultra processed food? You probably tried to and got maybe close, but never were able to recreate it. Compared to if I make broccoli and I tell you the ingredients of this broccoli dish I make, if there are only whole foods in it, you can go home and replicate that recipe. But ultra processed foods, no matter what you try to do, unless you're a scientist, you're not going to be able to replicate them because why? Because ultra processed foods have chemicals in them that we, normal people, do not have access to. You cannot replicate them. So you cannot make them, which then makes me wonder why am I eating something that I couldn't make at home? Well, because I'm lazy, because I don't want the problem, and because it tastes good. That was my reason before. I'm talking about myself. I was lazy. I didn't want to cook, Wellness Warrior. Because I didn't want to cook, I lived 23 years of joint pain because I didn't want to cook. Because I didn't want to cook, I lived 10, 12 years overweight because I didn't want to cook. Because I didn't want to cook, Wellness Warrior, I lived brain fog that I didn't even know was there, exhaustion that I didn't even know was there. What other problems were brewing underneath that were going to cause me problems later in life? I don't know, because I changed the way I eat. But that all started because I was lazy and I didn't want to cook. Now, that started before that because I was taught to be lazy because we live in this world that teaches us that easy is the answer. I'm challenging that today. I want us all to put down this crazy idea that easy is the answer, because it isn't. Easy is the answer for food companies. Easy is the answer for drug companies. Easy is the answer for companies that want us to believe that we don't have the desire and ability to do a little bit of work, because cooking is not as much work as I thought it was, to get the positive outcome, because the outcome is humongous, by the way. That's going to make your life amazing. My life's amazing, right? And my life is not amazing because I'm a millionaire, because I'm not. My life is not amazing because I'm 20, because I'm not. My life is not amazing because I look perfect. I mean, check the gray. I have an amazing life because I feel amazing, Wellness Warrior. I feel amazing. And nothing that I've ever had before this even compared. Nothing. And to think that I almost didn't have it because I didn't know what I'm sharing with you today. It's the food. It's the food. It's the food. Okay, I've said it because it's the food. And if we take the time to actually eat the right food and put down the stupid ultra processed garbage, we'll do better. Because not only should that stuff not be in my diet, it should never have been in my children's diet. It should never have been in anyone in my family's children's diet. But it was, and it is, right? My kids are 19, so I don't control what they do anymore. It's in their diet, and it frustrates me, Wellness Warrior, because it didn't need to be at all. Didn't need to be. And what is it doing in our body? Those foods that are in our diet. It's damaging our internal organs, right? It's damaging us. You know, have you ever actually just stopped and think about what these internal organs are trying to accomplish versus how we're feeding them. Like your liver, the purpose of it is to detoxify your body, right? And then your kidneys help out by passing that stuff out of the body, so it helps you to excrete the stuff, right? So is your digestive tract. Your digestive tract pulls the nutrients out of the food and then sends the rest of it to be processed right. So all these organs are working together to really help our body out, right? Our lungs take in oxygen, right? So that all these things can be fueled, right? Because you need oxygen for the part of these processes, right? And our brain is the master control center of everything, trying to coordinate all this stuff together so that this can function properly. And since I've been feeding my body properly, it's been doing so much better job at making all of this work well together. But here's the interesting thing, Lanswear, because those functions that I just told you about, when we eat the wrong thing, those functions cannot happen properly. And so the very important reason for my organs to be, which is to make sure that everything works well. When I eat the wrong thing, I actually stop it from being able to, because I'm damaging these things. Now, sometimes some of the damage is going to happen no matter what you eat, right? Because it's just like, when you use a pen or a marker, let's say, like as you're using it, the ink runs out, right? So like you're kind of damaging it as you use it. We are all aware that our body naturally gets damaged as we use it. Some of those damages are part of the function of getting stronger, right? Like when you try to build some muscle, it's tearing of the muscle that causes it to rebuild even stronger. So that's a function, right? It's a feature, right? It's not a mistake. But then there's other things where as you're damaging it, yeah, it's damaging it to damage it, right? It's like when you drive your car, all the dings and the dangs and the, like the wear and tear and whatever, and that's not good for the car. It's actually meaning that eventually the car will stop functioning. And we walk through the planet knowing that that happens. There's some things, somewhere, and some damage that's happening to build us, and there's some damage that's wear and tear that eventually will lead to me no longer being here. And I know that. Here's what's interesting. We're eating foods that accelerate the wear and tear, and we're leaving food off our plate that helps with the damage towards building us stronger. Why are we doing that? We're doing that because we've been told by the lying companies that those foods are the healthier foods. The lying company that benefits off us eating the wrong thing also benefits from us harming our body. You can say, well, how does that work? Well, because when I damage my body, the food company can shift me over into this other entity called the pharmaceutical company, where they're going to give me things to help with the pain, the nausea, the right, the stomach issues that I'm having because I'm eating the wrong things, and I'm not a ruminant animal, so therefore I'm having all these problems. And maybe those problems hurt, so I need different maybe those problems are causing like reflux and I need medication. And by the way, the medication for reflux causes you to have more reflux. Did you know that? It's built into the thing that they're actually making it worse so that you need more of it. Did you know that? And then eventually it causes like damage and then you need surgery. Did you know that? Oh, there's so many fun things that we don't know. So many fun things. But I don't want to get off topic. So the things that you're eating are causing you to go from one money-making scenario to another money-making scenario, pharma, and then to eventually another, money-making scenario where you have the medical and all the procedures that will be done. And all the while that you're going through this process, you're still eating the wrong foods, right? Because, well, even if you put down the ultra processed, they're still pushing fruits and high carb vegetables because they know that does the job too, right? It's the same way that if you have a drinking problem, that mouthwash does the job too. Not as pleasant to drink, but wellness warrior. Again, why? Oh, because it makes the money. It's really frustrating that that's the answer all the time. But and then of course I had a huge number of people talking about solving their sugar dependency. That was their reason for doing keto and carnivore. And I love that answer because solving your sugar dependency is the only thing that pulls you completely out of this story that I've been talking about up until this point, right? Because you have to even know you have a sugar dependency before you can get yourself out of that sugar dependency, right? And since most of us are not aware, so I know there's a lot of people watching right now who are not aware that that's what's happening. Well, guess what? If I'm not aware that I have a dependency, then I don't even try to solve it. If I don't even try to solve it, they've got me, right? Because I keep being told that these are the healthy foods, the fruits, they're the healthy foods, right? If you're not eating enough fruit, you're going to be sick, right? An apple a day does what? It keeps the doctor away. No, it doesn't. That was never true. Never. But it's a nice saying that we believed and put us on the path to not just eat apples, but oranges and bananas and mangoes and pineapple. And can we get sweeter on those fruits? Can we find something even sweeter than that? We're still looking, right? We've actually taken to combining grapes and apples together so that they can taste even grapples. They taste even sweeter. That's a real fruit that I found in the grocery store. An apple that tastes like grapes and apple together. Real fruit. I couldn't make that up if I wanted to, right? We are told that these things are needed for our body to function and to be healthy, right? And so therefore we are encouraged to have them in large quantities, and then our body doesn't function, right? It actually functions worse. And then we're told, no, it's because you eat more, right? Oh, you're having trouble going to the bathroom? Oh, you just didn't eat enough fiber. Can I point out, Wellness Warrior, that if you're doing a standard diet, fiber is all you're getting? Like they're restricting you to like a fist-sized piece of meat all day long. Everything else you are eating has fiber. And yet somehow people are walking around constipated. Could it be that it's the fiber causing constipation? Okay, I'm not going to make you guess. Yes, that's what's happening. Our body does best when we have no sugar coming in from the outside, right? Our body does the actual hugest best when we focus on eating meat, fish, poultry, eggs. That's when our body thrives. And we know this. It's not like the people that are telling us to eat all this vegetation don't know this. We got to where we are with all these gadgets around us because our brains are gigantic, because we were eating meat and fat. It's in our history. We know it. And we see the variation that happens when we have cultures and times in history when we had less meat, we get shorter and kind of wider, so we saw the variations that happened over time. And yet still somehow we're being told that grains, we need to have multiple servings of grains per day, multiple servings of fruits and veg per day, and that we need to be careful and not have too much red meat, especially that red meat's going to harm. No, they don't want you to have red meat, because if you have red meat and actually get healthier and actually start to understand that the other garbage that's on your plate was what was causing the problem, they won't make money. Now, I will tell you though, Wellness Warrior, there is one truth that I need you to see. If I'm eating a lot of red meat, but I'm still a lot of any meat, it doesn't even have to be red. If I'm eating a lot of meat, fish, poultry, eggs, with a lot of processed food, high carb food, doesn't even have to be processed, high carb food, I've just created high fat, high carb. That's the standard American diet. You will get sick. So that Yes, if you keep high carb in your life, you cannot do a lot of meat. You cannot do a lot of, you can't even do a lot of fish or poultry. You cannot, because you have too much carb in your, not because those things aren't healthy. It's because now you're pushing both fat and carb at the same time. That's a recipe for obesity. That's a recipe for mental health challenges. That's a recipe for internal organ damage. That's what that's a recipe for. We need to be aware of what we're trying to accomplish, Wellness Warrior. This is my favorite comment of the entire. When I was searching around, I found this one and I'm like, I like this one the best because this person took good action and accomplished a bunch. Weight loss, stable blood sugar, normal blood pressure, no more pain. The fibromyalgia is gone. From can't walk to running. That's my favorite one. That's my favorite one because the thing that made me the saddest throughout all of my health issues was that I couldn't do my activities back in 2018 or 2017 winter, the winter of 17 to 18. I didn't ski or snowboard even one time. And the summer before that, so 2017 summer, all I could do was go for walks. I didn't ride I didn't ride my trike, my scooter, my longboards. I didn't ride anything. My pain was so high in my hip. I didn't get to do any of my activity. That was the saddest I'd ever been in my, and it showed. My mind was not happy. It showed. It's interesting to me that throughout my life, so from 23 to 46, I believe, I was always in pain because it started at 23, but because I could do my activities, even though I had to rest for like 2 days afterwards to recuperate, right, from the pain that I was living from having done it, I was still doing them, and so I was living a pretty okay existence. It was okay. I was having fun. Wellness Warrior, that year-ish where I couldn't do what I wanted to do, I'd never been so sad in all of my life. There was just, I was focused. I was obsessed with going on walks and trying to figure out how I could lose weight because that's what I thought was a problem. So I can get back to a place where I could do my activities. And I spent months walking and eating low fat, trying to lose weight, eating food I didn't like, trying to lose weight. And I didn't lose even a pound, not 1 pound in that entire time, not 1 pound, which was sad. It's sad because I wasn't eating what I liked. I wasn't doing my activities. Now I'm not even able to feel better. So what was the point of all that? So can't walk? I don't even know what I would have done if I couldn't even walk, which that was a big fear that I had coming up. What if it just keeps getting worse, right? They're telling me hip surgery at some point. I didn't want to have surgery. I didn't want to take medication, right? Because I had already done the medication road for 3 other things in my life that turned out horribly. I didn't want any of that. Anyways, I love this comment. I love this comment because it reminds me of what I got back. I got all of my activities back. I climbed now. I've added new activities, right? Climbing is new. And maybe there's going to be another new activity that I add in the future. Because why? Because I can. I feel good. I feel amazing. And you can feel amazing too, Wellness Warrior, right? Put down the ultra processed foods. Put down the processed foods. Eat only real food. If you do that, you can feel amazing too. Does it blow your mind to know that you could feel amazing too by putting down these things? Hey, I'm just wondering, had you ever thought about that idea that I could put down junk food? and feel amazing. But this is what it comes down to, because if you actually want to change your life, right? If you want to change it, then you need to change your life, right? If I want my life to change, I need to change my life. That's how this works. And that means I have to change stuff. The food that I eat would be the number one place I would encourage you to start, because the food that you eat determines the body that you're building. It determines the ability of your body to heal itself versus harming itself. The body that you want is on the other side of eating proper food, because it takes proper nutrition. And we have not been giving ourselves proper nutrition. I don't know if I've said that enough in this video. I'm trying to say it as much as possible. You need to eat the right thing if you want to have a body that's healthy. And that healthy body then allows you to feel emotionally good. That body that's healthy allows you to do stuff that allows you then to have fun in your life, allows you to work enough to get the money to be able to have the things that are going to make your life actually easier. Not the junk food. That doesn't make your life easier. But might it be easier for you if you had a newer vehicle to get you and your kids around town than something that is not reliable? For example, might it be easier, might your life be happier and easier if you all had bicycles so that you could ride together, right? And if going to work and staying on task and not wasting my money on junk food, not wasting my money on toys to help me feel better because I don't feel good. If I don't waste my money, could I buy bikes for all of us in our family, and then we have bicycling days where we go to the park or maybe ride to the pool and have a great time in the pool, and just enjoy actual life? Could I buy us all some skis and we learn to ski and enjoy actual winter? How about that? How about enjoying winter rather than running away from it? Right? That's why I learned to ski, because I live in Montreal. Half the year, skiing is my option, and snowboarding, that's my option, or I'm in the house. How can I get this to be better so that my life gets better, so that my life becomes more fun? More fun. Wellness Warrior, we can't wait for food companies to decide to make less profit so that they can make us healthier food. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They don't want to make less profit. So therefore, they're not going to make us healthier food. Any company that you see producing a healthier food, they're coming along because they're brand new and they don't know better. And they don't know how much they're going to lose on that process, because not enough people are going to buy that healthier food because it costs more. And that's what I want us to change, though, because when healthier food options become available, because they are going to, if we push forward, they have no choice but to, where things are packaged in glass bottles that get recycled, first of all, but they're packaged in glass bottles and sold in a reasonable amount of time so that that food doesn't have as many preservatives in it, so that it can be a whole healthy food. That's not impossible. It's just less convenient for the food companies. It's just more expensive for the food companies because they have to ship things sooner and faster. It's less convenient. That's why it's not happening. They'd have to have places in every city to make that food so that they can get the food out. That's more expensive. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. But they could. And that's important for us to understand. And guess what? If they're not going to do it, then we need to do our part by cooking our own food. Buy as healthy a food as you can and cook it, because we can't wait for the food companies to change things, and we cannot wait for our government to take better care of us either, because the government is a bunch of people. And what I figured out is some of those people who are making up the government, they've been gotten to, right? Some of those people clearly have been receiving finances to keep things in place that make no logical sense for the population that they're supposed to be serving and protecting. No logical sense, except for it's putting money in somebody's pocket. So, Wellness Warrior, we need to do this. You and I we need to do this. We need to decide to eat only food. That's animal protein for anybody who's new here. My definition of food is animal protein with its accompanying fat. That's the only thing that's actually food. If you eat anything else, understand that you are eating for fun. And eating for fun equals damaging your body. That's what you're doing. I know that sounds harsh, but that's reality. We need to know what the actual baseline truth is if we're ever going to get this under control. So I decided to get my fun from doing things like climbing, longboarding, snowboarding, uh, painting, and art stuff, and being with people. I get my fun from fun activities and people. And I suggest, Wellness Warrior, that you figure out how to do the same, because that's the thing that's going to improve your health. That's the thing that's going to make your life better. That's the thing that's going to help you advance. So I'm curious to know what kind of comments we have today and who's here, first of all. I know that earlier today, I saw that there was a new um, person that came and joined the here we go. Hi, thanks for joining our membership. If anybody else wants to join, it does help support the channel. I do appreciate it when people join, and I would love to be able to talk to more members as well as new people. So this is all terrific for me. So I'm gonna any huge benefits, Violet. Thanks. I went through a bunch of huge benefits. And good morning, Pat. And I really want us all to realize that everything I read there was coming from a real person. Hello, Christine Parker. How you doing? And real people are the best, right? Because real people show us that it isn't about fake. It isn't about the money that you're going to make. Those real people that left me comments are not making anything by sharing their story with you guys. Nothing at all. What they're doing is they're helping you guys. Actually, let me just fix myself here. What they're doing is they're helping you guys to understand the benefits that they've seen, because they know that maybe by saying this, one of you will end up living an amazing benefit as well. Hi, Claire. So Rod Camp is asking, why would I throw away food and not give it to people who want it? The reason that I threw away those avocados was because I learned how much oxalate was in them. And as soon as that food was too dangerous for me to eat, I decided it's too dangerous for me to even give away. And there's certain things that absolutely I throw away. Any candy that enters my house, because sometimes people, when they come over, they feel like they need to bring you something, and they'll bring candy or they'll bring chips or they'll bring garbage. When they leave, garbage, it's gone. That's not food. My definition of food is different, and that's not food, especially candy. It's giving you nothing of benefit. So I throw it away. Now, there might be other times where I'll give something away, but especially things that I just know there's no benefit to your body, there's no reason. So, hello, Jayla. As someone on a low oxalate diet for 15 years, avocados from supermarkets that are unripe are still a low ox food. Oxalates are also made by the body, which is where the toxicity comes from. Food just fills the bucket. So Jayla, from what I understood from Sally Norton, who has a book on this topic and has done extensive research, that's not reality. According to what she told me, oxalates in unripe fruit is higher than oxalate in the ripened version of the fruit. So don't take my word for it. Go do the research. I think that we all need to do the thing that's going to make us comfortable and calm in what we're doing. But for someone like myself who's trying to be at the highest level of health, because I know that's what's going to help me to live my best life, I'm not going to eat something that I've now been made aware is too much oxalate. Right? So that's just not something I'm willing to do. And I'm going to also go to Rod Camp. I would really encourage you to read the book because um, she also mentioned the fact that cooking some of these things does not help you. In the book, she goes through a lot of the science and explains it to us very clearly. Spinach is not being helped by being cooked. It's still well above the amount that any human should ever ingest in terms of oxalate. And that was the number one offender, in her opinion, followed closely by almonds. So, yeah, but I encourage you, don't take my word for it. Go read her book and then look at the research that she sends you to and go look at that research and follow the same rabbit trail that she followed. And you'll see why the conclusions that she came to make a lot of sense. Okay, so let's see. So QQQ in front of questions that are for me, which would be lovely. I see a lot of conversations going back and forth that are not for me. Wow, there's a lot of back and forth that's not for me. Hello, K-Day. How are you doing? So Aaron says, tried Atkins 25 years ago and lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks while eating 3 to 4,000 calories a day. Then Thanksgiving happened. So many people have that story, Aaron. Thanks for sharing. Um, I think that so many people don't realize that you don't get a break from good health. So if I step out of my good health story, my body will be in a struggle again. And also, if I step out of my good health story, my dependency gets turned back on. Hello, Claire. Carnivore changed your brain for the better, much calmer. Calm is great. I think that calm is one of the most important things that we should be aiming for because it helps us to really like focus in on our ability to solve problems. It's hard to solve a problem when we're freaking out. It's hard to solve a problem when we can't think clearly. So having a clear, calm mind equals everything that I try to do after that improving, and is a benefit to all of us. Hello, Elise. I'm glad that you caught this live as well. So a question, I see one. Do I miss avocados or have you just filed them away with donuts, pasta, and moved on? I filed them away. I don't miss them. I thought at one point I will, and maybe I'm not far enough away from it yet to miss them. So I don't know. I'll wait and see. But if I think about everything else, do I miss chocolate? Not at all. Do I miss ice cream? Not at all. Let's see. Anything else that I see these things in front of me too, because I go grocery shopping for my family, but I also have family members who are not keto or even carnivore or whatever. And so when I'm visiting relatives or whatever, they're eating chips and ice cream and chocolate and all kinds of things in front of me. I'm smelling the stuff. I've mentioned this before. Now, when I smell food that's like those old foods that I used to eat, now they smell like perfumes and scents to me more than they smell like something to eat. So the same way that when you burn a candle, you're not thinking, "Oh, I gotta eat that candle," right? Like it just smells nice. That's what it smells like to me now, especially popcorn. Um, at my mother's home, often they make popcorn, and I go there, and it just smells. It smells like a nice aroma. That's it. So I do feel like at some point you get past um, you get past it. It's just not a thing anymore. Any more questions? Hello, Emily. How are you doing? Nice to see you here. No fiber, no problem. Fiber is cellulose. Cellulose, as in cellulose, actually, as in sugar. Os like sugar. Thank you for, yeah, os. Thank you. As in sugar, and not just any sugar. Cellulose is the sugar that's found in wood. Cellulose is what termites eat. Thank you for sharing that, Emily. That's cool. I think these are things that are going to help people remember, right? When you start thinking about, first of all, the oses, which are all the sugars, but then who is the os for? And the fact that cellulose is for termites, which again, they have a different gut system that allows them to break down cellulose and use it for whatever nutrition they're going to get and need, and use it to help them grow. And so that helps us to start to link things together and remember that since I'm not a termite, obviously cellulose is not for me, right? AM1 says, red meat with fat equals satiety. Satiety is bad for business. I totally agree. Satiety means that the companies do not make the money that they want to be making. And if they don't make their money, then right, like they're going to do whatever. I mean, if you think about the fact that Oreos are one of the most kind of loved cookies, Oreo and chocolate chip, right? These are the two like loved cookies. It's not good enough that Oreo and let's say what would be the other Keebler maybe, or what would be the company that really Mr. Chrissy, Mrs. Chrissy? I can't remember what the company is, but there's one company that I just like when I think chocolate chip, that's where my brain goes, and then you have the Oreo brand. It's not good enough that they have the corner on that market. They turn around and they make Oreos with different flavored fillings which don't taste anywhere near as good. But heaven forbid, right? Heaven forbid that they don't make extra money from the people who might like that version. And the chocolate chip companies putting like the equivalent of M&Ms in theirs, or like equivalent of Smarties in theirs, right? To try to make them rainbow to see if they can get the smaller and smaller children to like them. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but yet that's what happens. I agree with you. Aim, stop the poison, pamper, not punish. Yeah, like we need to stop poisoning ourselves. It's just crazy. I would love more questions if there are any, because there's so much here, a lot of back and forth conversations. I was more recently with that experiment that I did in trying to figure out, like, would I have a reaction? Could I kind of stimulate that dumping that Sally was talking about, which it feels like I did, because I have like a rash happening, which I think is one of the signs she said that you could get. Hello, Charles. Nice to see you here. I feel like when you push your body and you start having a reaction, so because I purposely push my body, I'm not scared. But when you accidentally push your body and have a reaction, I think that's when it's harder. And one thing that I will say that for me was a big frustration when I decided to go keto. And then I started taking things out of my diet and it shifted. And I started to see like, oh, I'm reacting to nightshades. Oh, like, if I'm over 18, I don't feel good. And all these shifts start happening. And I started to realize like all the different nightshades that I was still coming in contact with because of certain like mixed seasonings that I was purchasing, or even sauces that I was purchasing, or even going to a restaurant. And even though if I order a salad, ordering the salad without the nightshade in it is very different than ordering the salad normally and then just not eating the nightshade. So for example, peppers or like that kind of like, I started to realize that even when I wasn't eating the peppers, I could taste it on the other stuff. So I started to ask for my salads with like being made separately without the peppers in it. And long story, the thing that it kind of made me start to realize is that how many different places was I kind of getting secondhand garbage in me, not realizing that I'm still being harmed, not realizing that I don't have to actually put it in my mouth because I could taste it on this other thing. And then it's like, wow. But I was able to taste it on the other thing, which is the other part of the story, because I actually allowed myself to see that I could taste it. And if I didn't pause and let myself see that I could taste it, so if I didn't take the other sugary things out of my diet, I would not have been able to taste the subtle flavor of a pepper in the rest of the stuff that I am eating. And that was a huge unlock for me, because It's sort of like secondhand smoke. Like, why would I allow myself to have that? Hello. I'm so happy to see all the people that are showing up. Kimberly Ann, I'm very happy that you're finding this message positive. I want everybody to do better. I want everybody to get their health under control. I want us to put down the lies that we've been walking around with from food companies for far too long, because they're lies. They're lies. And if I don't understand that they're lies, I just keep letting myself do behavior that's hurting me. Yeah. I blew it and I bought protein bars at Costco. Each one is close to 30 grams of carbs. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Erin. But I do see this is the other thing, because protein bar, and we think, oh, it's protein. First of all, a lot of the time it's plant protein, not bioavailable to us. Second of all, a lot of the time the protein that we're having is a protein is not enough protein to counter the fact that there's so much sugar in it, right? So this less than available protein comes in, and then on top of that, my body has to store it away anyway because all this sugar came in with it. So Claire is saying, my kids are given so much candy at church. It is so frustrating. I understand that's not a question, but well, it depends on how old your kids are, and it depends on how um, understanding they are to their own sensitivities and health. For some of us, when our kids eat the wrong thing, the repercussions are obvious, right? And for some of us, not so obvious. I would encourage my kid, if you get candy at church, especially if my kid, so it depends on what scenario you're in, Claire, because if my kid is not allowed to eat candy at all, then of course they're just going to try to eat it before mom takes it away. But if you do allow them to have some candy, then it might be worth it to you to encourage them to just take the candy, and like you can have one with your friends and keep the rest, and then you can have the rest throughout the week if you do allow them to have candy. And if you don't, well, then that's a different conversation altogether. Linda, hello, how are you doing? So you said you're 45, spent the last 10 years plant-based until the last 10 months. Now ketovore, total game changer. I'm very happy for you that you were able to make changes. First of all, it's hard when you're doing a very, like you're doing, you said you were doing plant-based. Well, plant-based doesn't necessarily mean that you were only eating plants, though. You could have been eating other things. But being meat-based, first of all, but second of all, if you decide to transition to being meat only, like that's a huge difference than the standard diet, which then makes us feel so different that we hesitate to really commit. And I want us to realize that it doesn't matter what we eat, right? Like other people are going to comment about something if they want to comment about something. So stressing about your food being the thing people are going to comment about, if that person wants to comment about you, they're going to find something else. I can guarantee you that the people that care about me don't care what I'm eating as long as I'm healthy, as long as I stick around. But they don't care if I eat chicken today or beef or fish or eggs. They don't care. Turkey. They don't care. As long as I stick around and I'm healthy, that's what they want to see. And so I would encourage you to look at it from that perspective, because I think we overthink these things like really, really, really too much. Yes, I am doing so much better with problem solving. This had always been a problem for you. So I'm glad that you were able to change that, Lynn, because again, our mind is so important. So Linda is saying that you have endometriosis and was told that the worst diet for me is keto carnivore. My doctor recommends a plant-based diet. I have gained over 30 pounds since January 2023 and feel absolutely horrible. So were you doing keto carnivore before that, Linda? That's my question to you. Because if you were doing keto or carnivore before that, you would have been able to see that your doctor was mistaken. because I believe that your doctor is mistaken, but that's my opinion. And I'm not a doctor, so whatever. But my suggestion to you would be to watch the doctors and see what they have to say about it, because there are lots of doctors that talk about the benefits of keto and carnivore. What I will say from a very basic level is that anytime that you eat real food, you're going to do better. But you need to be eating real food. So even people who go from a standard diet to vegetarian or vegan do better initially. Why? Because they're going from eating ultra processed junk to real food. So that's step one. So if you take all of the ultra processed and processed foods out of your diet, processed foods are things like bread, pasta, even rice. Like if you're going to eat any grain and you're trying to be whole foods, then you have to eat the ancient grains. Okay, I'm just pointing that out. So I would take all the processed foods out of my diet. That includes all the nut butters, everything that's processed. If I cannot make it at home, I don't have it. So for example, if you want mayonnaise, make it at home. Buy the individual ingredients, make it at home. If you want to turn that mayonnaise into Caesar salad dressing, just buy a few more ingredients, make it at home. We don't do it because we have all these conveniences, but those conveniences are making us sick because those conveniences have chemicals in them. So the reason I'm saying this, especially to you, Linda, is because of this. You actually have endometriosis. So this isn't simply, I could be healthier. I'm going to do this new diet and I have lots of time ahead of me to get my body back into a good place. No, you actually have a problem diagnosed in the moment. That equals, now I actually need to be aggressive if I'm going to change that. At least that's what it equals to me, right? If I was diagnosed with endometriosis, I'd be aggressive. And that means no processed foods would be entering my mouth. And then I would take the next step and just make sure that everything that I eat, I cook it properly. I don't want to burn anything accidentally because I don't want any carcinogens coming in. I'm going to cook everything properly. I'm going to give my body what it needs. And my hope is that within the next 2 or 3 or 20 years, my body heals itself. I don't know how old you are. I don't know what other health issues you might have. But what I do know is that if you want to heal, you need to take your health as seriously as possible. So go check out those doctors' channels. Who would I encourage? Dr. Boz and Dr. Peltz often talk about ladies' health things. So they might be a good source for you. Even though I know that they're both keto and yeah. So, but I mean, if you want to carnivore somebody, I'm trying to think of a carnivore somebody. I mean, I do know that Dr. Bickman is often, and Dr. Berry is often talking about the fact that, and Dr. Baker, that carnivore is healthy because it's healthy. And it's just like, it's healthy food. You're eating appropriate food. So like, as soon as you're eating appropriate food, it's healthy. So, and they all three say there's nothing wrong with eating meat. Right? The problems with, and actually Dr. Bickman went on to say, the problems with eating meat arise because we eat plants. So Lynn is saying, what are you saying about oxalates is true? I can't handle them. What I'm saying about oxalates is true. You can, there's a lot of people, Lynn, that just, they can't handle oxalates. And I didn't realize that I was maybe having an issue with oxalates, even though I have, what do you call them? I have joint issues, but I never put it together that it would be joint issues that cause me. So anyways, we all need to be careful. And Emily is saying, good point. We can enjoy fragrances without ingesting them. Yeah, definitely. Like just if something smells nice, enjoy the smell of it. You don't have to actually eat it. Right? Hello, Sharon Snyderburn. Got together with friends last night and they all snacked on salty snacks and drank beer while I drank sparkling mineral water. Love that I can do this and not even want any of that. You said food. I call it garbage. And I'm glad that you were able to do that and feel good and have fun with your friends without having to damage your body. And you know what? I really hope my friends at some point figure out that it's not healthy to eat those things. but I can't force them to see what I see, right? Why do doctors focus on blood work rather than arterial damage? Or is it basically a marker? That's a good question, Lynn. My fast, my reflex answer is, if I solve it too soon, then I don't have the possibility for a procedure. But my other answer is, we have to keep in mind that doctors are doing what they've been trained to do. So we check markers before we check arterial damage, right? And arterial damage, so scans and all these things cost more. What amazes me, wellness warrior, and this is something that I don't know, like, we don't think about these things, but I think about these things. When we go to the doctor, they're very fast to draw blood and do those kind of tests because that's what doctors do. And throughout, at least throughout my lifetime, doctors test you through blood. And then if we need some kind of scan, if we need some kind of like scope or anything where they're going to look internally, that costs a lot, right? When you go to your general doctor to go and get these tests done is expensive. However, when you go to the dentist, they do x-rays every single time you go in. Now, they used to. Now they do them every second or third time you go. But it doesn't cost you more. It's part of your dental checkup that they will do an x-ray. When I went to get my sleep apnea test done, they did a scope and into my nose, and it was part of the procedure. It was, again, covered. I didn't pay extra for that. But every time I've needed a doctor x-ray, it costs more. So I don't think it's because these machines are, sorry, these procedures actually cost that, because otherwise the dentist and the other professionals that use them regularly would not be able to use them regularly. It's just because it's baked into the system. So that's why my first thought is, well, yeah, it's a money-making scenario, because otherwise, why would we not just have the same procedures with the same process, right? Why is it when I go to my doctor, it has to cost, and it costs me out of pocket, right? Because they're going to send me to the hospital and they're going to put me on a waiting list. And again, at the dentist, they have a machine right there that they use on every person who sits in that chair. But somehow I have to wait weeks to get it done rather than just walk down the hall, get in the machine and get it done. So it doesn't make sense to me, Aaron. And I think it's because, it's just another way to make money. Sing it. Speaking of Oreos, had you noticed that Oreo spells cream and not cream? That couldn't be because it's not cream. Oh my gosh. So what is it? You know what? I did not notice that. Thank you for pointing that out. That's kind of funny that I didn't notice that. But now you're making me wonder, yeah, what is it? It's not cream, then it's, but there are certain things, there are certain things that they have to like be careful of saying, because if they put cream and there's no milk in it, right? I guess that would be a problem for people who, and also if they put cream and then if you are allergic to dairy, you would think you can't have it when you can. So I could see lots of reasons why they would do that, actually. So Roadcamp is saying medicine and poison are a matter of usage. The caffeine in coffee destroys brains of insects. It a pesticide. In larger beings, humans, it's a stimulant, but does not cause brain damage. So one of the things we have to be careful of is saying that because it doesn't cause brain damage. So can we say it doesn't cause brain damage if it's a stimulant? If you have enough of a stimulant, what is the negative impact of that stimulant? So it's a question mark for me. I'm so cautious when we say that something isn't harmful without knowing if there's a person out there that on a very low dose of this not harmful thing could be harmed. Like for myself, when they keep saying, oh, but the amount of solanine in tomatoes is not near high enough for a person to react, and yet I react. The amount of solanine in potatoes is not near, and I react. So they're wrong. So you just be careful, please, wellness warriors, because it's not because the majority of people would not react to that doesn't mean that some people do not react to that, and that some people might not react severely to that. Because if you react severely, you're not going to be happy about it. Thank you for the super chat, AM1. Great stream, right in time for me as I reset for a solid carnivore week, starting with a 40-hour fast. That is, first of all, just I'm impressed that you're doing the 40-hour fast. I'm assuming that that's to jumpstart the not wanting to eat the garbage, and if that's why you're doing it, that's a great reason to do it. Dr. Chaffee pointed out that we don't necessarily need to fast to get the benefits of eating carnivore, because the fact that you eat carnivore and eliminated all the carbs that were coming in, it's what helps you. And he pointed out, which is the thing that I didn't know, or not that I mean, can I even say I didn't know? I didn't think about, because when he said it, it was like, Violet, what's wrong? But like what he pointed out is that spices count, right? Those spices, they are the most flavorful because they are the most reactive. And we need to understand that. I like that, Linda. Protein bars are candy bars with wigs. That's so funny. I love it when my eyes just catches something funny. Does it mean that I'm now carnivore? Yes, I am. I've been carnivore for, oh man, I have to check the date. I keep forgetting to check the date that I started. But yes, I've been carnivore for 3 months, I would say, ish. And yeah, it's, so I'll talk about that for 5 seconds. I thought it was going to be a hard transition. It wasn't. And I thought that I would not see much difference, and I have. Now, I'm not going to say more than that because I have a video that I'm going to do about it to go through that, but it was really surprising to me. So I was surprising. That's where I'm going to say I was surprised. So do you know how many fruits and vegetables they have altered? Um, you know what? This is a hard question. Like, as far as I understand from looking at, like, for example, what a banana, how big a banana used to be and what it used to look like, and then how they are today, it seems to me like most vegetation that we eat today is genetically modified in some way. And so that's part of the reason that I'm okay with not eating veg, is because once I learned that, I learned that it really near the beginning of this process, that everything is GMO. Yeah, like probably I think I've known for a long time that probably we didn't need any of these things, and I just didn't push on it fast enough. But then, of course, when you get to the point where you're doing better, you want to push on it, right? My kids, so Claire is saying, my kids and candy. So regarding my kids and candy, sorry about that. They are allowed a small amount on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as a way to practice delayed gratification. They turn the candy they are given over to me. Oh, okay. So then if that's what's happening, it's not such a big deal. And they know when they're allowed to have it, and then they have some. So I don't think it's as big a deal if you're controlling it. I think that the part that's silly is that the church is giving that much candy. And so it makes me believe that the people at the church don't understand the impact of carbs on a kid's brain. Now, I'm going to be the first one to hold my hand up and say, at church, when I was a kid, it was the same story. We just got cookies, right? And it was always like, a bunch of cookies with milk. So it was the same story. And I don't think, and the truth is, I don't think that the church fully understands the impact of sugar on a kid's brain. They're just trying to make the kids happy to be at church, right? So if everybody comes to church and does their Sunday school and plays well with each other and can recite the verse that they were supposed to learn from last week, and if you do all the right things, then you get cookies. right? And it's just really fun. And it's like a way of getting kids excited about being at church, because instead of having to eat real lunch, they get to eat cookies at lunchtime. And what kid doesn't love that? Right? I'm wondering if we oh, hey Pat. Very good conversations, people. Oh, you have to leave. I'm sorry that you have to leave early. Am I carnivore for good? That's an interesting question. I'm not 100% sure. I think I am. It feels right to me. I feel so. If you don't know me here, I don't, although I cook every day and I'm fine with cooking every day, I like simplicity of the way that I cook. And so part of the reason that avocado was my side dish is because it's easy to make. And so I feel like doing carnivore hasn't changed much in that front. I'm still cooking the same amount that I was cooking before, but I will say that I feel better. So even though I didn't think it was possible for me to feel better, again, I feel better. And so I'm like 99.999% sure that I'm going to be carnivore moving forward. And the only reason I say 99.99% sure is because I still have this back of my mind idea that I'm not worried about things like salad. Like from what I can tell, but maybe I'm gonna learn something soon, and it's gonna be like, ah, there's the thing about salad. But until I learned that, salad still seems to me. So I'm talking about lettuce, actually, not salad, but lettuce still seems to me to be innocuous. Like it's basically a little bit of fiber and water and whatever. And so that's the only reason. And like, you know, when we have tacos or whatever, for example, I'm wondering like, will I just not have tacos? So I don't know. Like maybe I'll find an alternative where I don't end up having the lettuce leaves, which is what I was usually having when my kids have tacos. So that's what but maybe I'll just eat the meat and that'll be fine too. So, which I could totally see myself doing because I don't use spices either. So, actually, as I'm talking it through, I'm realizing that probably I'll just eat the meat because I don't eat spices. So, putting ground pork or in a lettuce leaf to eat it when I could just eat the ground pork, why would I not just do what I normally do when they're not around and just eat the yeah? So you know what? I think I just answered my question. That was the one thing that was still on my list of like, might I eat a salad? And I kind of thought I might, but now as I say it, and I don't miss having salad. This is the other thing, which I thought I was going to miss having salad once in a while, but I don't. So yeah, it's really really interesting to just see how things progress, things change, and how amazing. I never thought 10 years ago, I would never have thought that I would be eating the way that I'm eating today. And it makes me just think, well, what might be happening 10 years from now? Like what amazing other things might I learn and be able to take into my new life, right? Let's see. My blood work looked good. Had an echo AKG, weird finding, and scan was told you're okay. 6 weeks later, heart attack, 4 stents. Okay. Okay, so I understand now why you asked the question. And yeah, I probably would have been angry with that because if I had blood work done and it didn't show anything, uh, yeah. So again, it does make me wonder, like, why do we not do scans? You did an EKG, but you did an EKG. There was a weird finding, and they said, "But I'm okay." Well, if you had a weird finding, why didn't they do a bit more investigation? That part it doesn't make sense to me. And so I feel like was there some, dare I say, malpractice happening there? Because how is like, I'm sorry, Aaron, and that's I guess about all I could say is I'm sorry because I do feel like in our world of easy, doctors they take easy sometimes too. And so weird doesn't necessarily show me an absolute problem. And so maybe that's why nothing was done about it. But I would have wanted weird to be explored further if it was me. I can tell you that right now. So the fact that they didn't explore it more, that's very, very sad. And the fact that you had to live pain because your doctor didn't do one more test, that's very, very sad. Yeah. So my favorite meat, I would have to say, I still like a nice pork chop. That's my favorite thing. If I can have a really nice pork chop, I'm a happy person. And it's hard to find a good pork chop like lately. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I've been struggling to find a good one. But every once in a while, Costco never has, by the way. Can I just point that out? I don't know if anybody has this experience. Like, I don't know if the US Costco is the same like here. Costco never has good pork chops. They always have deboned, dry pork, and it's yeah. So, anyways, that's my little rant on Costco. I don't understand why, but AM1 said they went from big bowls of quinoa and kale to half a dozen eggs and ground beef or steak. That sounds delicious, actually. Um, let's see. So Emily Mario says, school and church. I often give the teachers boxes of small Slim Jim beef sticks to give out. Kids love them and still get a treat. Yeah, it's school. And in school, it was a little bit better because in our school, oh no, no, I'm wrong. In elementary school, we had the same problem. In elementary school, I remember getting a lots of treats. And actually, my favorite snack in elementary school that they would give us sometimes, besides cookies, because we did get that, but my favorite snack, I remember I was so excited whenever we would get the little package of trail mix that had like nuts, seeds, raisins, that kind of thing. But I don't even know, like as a kid, why that was my favorite thing. And I didn't like raisins, so I never ate the raisins, but I would eat and I know that in the US trail mix has chocolate in it. Ours didn't have that. It was really just nuts, seeds, and raisins. And I would just throw the raisins away because I didn't like them. But for some reason, I was drawn to nuts and seeds. So, yep, that looked like it was our last comment. Thank you, Emily, for that comment. This was amazing. I love hanging out with you guys. I hope that today's video helped you to think differently about the foods you're eating. And I hope that it helped you to see why people do keto and carnivore, because I wanted to share with you reasons that were not mine. I didn't go through everything, right? So a lot of the things that were on the screen, people went through things that I haven't gone through and they got results that I would never have gotten. So I hope this video shows you that there's multiple reasons beyond weight loss to do a healthy keto carnivore lifestyle. And that is the amazing reason to do it. Do I feel any different rebounding yet? Will you put it down when it's warm? I don't think I'm going to put it down when it's warm because the first thing I do in the morning is jump. So I don't see why I would need to put it down when it's warmer. I feel it's just an added benefit of something I get to do. Do I feel different? I'm trying to think about, like, is there anything? Do I feel different? I feel like I have more energy, which is great. But I don't know if that was the carnivore though, because I feel like I had the energy and that's why I started rebounding. Hold on. Well, I definitely feel a little stronger in my legs, that for sure. And what I've been trying to do is incorporate arms into what I'm doing so that, like, I'm trying to make sure that I kind of get a full body. So like I'm also doing twists. And so I feel like I'm becoming a little bit more creative in my bouncing, which I guess is a positive, and it's a improvement in a way, because I started this off where I would wake up in the morning, and the first thing that I would do in the morning, besides like just make a coffee or whatever, or I would do like just normal stuff. But like I feel like now I get up in the morning and my first thing is put on something educational, so I'm actually improving my mind at the same time, which is kind of cool. So I put on something educational to watch on my TV my projector, and then I just start jumping, and then I'm being more creative in my jumps because I feel like all of it comes around to, yes, I think it's making me a little bit more creative in my workouts, like just the rebounding and finding different ways to jump and different things to do. I even tried sitting on it and seeing if I could like use my arms to bounce me around. So I've been, it's been a fun thing to play with. And it makes me think about just getting my heart going first thing in the morning, which is something that I wasn't doing before. I don't think I've been doing it long enough to see what it can bring for me. So, for example, I think that, which is going to be happening soon because the weather is getting nicer. I think that when I'm going to be riding this summer, when I get my first opportunity to ride, I'm curious to see like how rebounding helps that first few riding sessions. Usually it's not too bad for me. Since I lost weight, it's been not too bad. But I will say that in the over the winter, not being able to snowboard because we didn't have good weather to snowboard. I think I went once or twice, maybe. That I think would have. I don't think I would have been as cardiovascularly there because I wasn't pushing myself every weekend. So jumping, I feel like jumping has been the kind of replacement that's happened because of that. So I'm excited to see how longboarding goes this year, how scootering goes this year. I'm hopefully gonna finish building my scooter that I'm building. So lots of things coming up, and I'm gonna try to take you guys along on more of my stuff outside, just to show you like what kind of stuff I do. I showed you some of my climbing, but I haven't really shown any longboarding or scootering lately. And I want you guys to see the kind of stuff that Pat and I do for fun, because I hope it inspires you to get out there and do stuff for fun, to live your life, and to not just have food be the fun thing, because, well, food shouldn't be a fun thing. It's nutrition for our body. But also, it's just great to do stuff and use your body while you can, right? While we're young enough to do fun things, we should be doing the fun things. At some point, I'm going to be maybe too old to do some of this stuff. I hope that never happens, but it might, right? But while I can do it, I'm going to do it. And I encourage all of you to do the same. And I'm going to link a video in the description and on the end screen that I'm not sure yet which one it's going to be, but I think I'm going to link you something about getting active. That's what I'm going to do, because you guys need to get active. Yeah, I'm going to link my video about getting active. Just get out there, live your life, be healthy, and be happy. Talk to you guys very, very soon. Have a good rest of your day.